So I really don't have time to record this video right now. I'm procrastinating, but I really wanted to get my thoughts down about this E3 and the Nintendo presentation in particular. I thought Xbox had a great presentation. I mean, there was so much there, new titles galore, Game Pass aplenty. There's so much going on, so much good stuff going on in the world of Xbox right now that I just can't hate on it, man. And Forza Horizon 5 looks fantastic. The snowboarding thingy looks fun. Flight Simulator on Xbox is going to be really interesting to see how they pull it off. Maybe they make it more accessible. We'll have to see. And then there's a bunch of other stuff at Xbox that I won't even go into. But let's focus today on Nintendo. It seems like they stole the show. That's my observation. I'm pretty sure it's most everybody's observation out there, and I completely agree with that sentiment. And I mean, it's not that you know, Nintendo had this one really big announcement at the end, or not announcement, but you know, the trailer at the end for Sequel of the Wild, or whatever you want to call it, which we're looking at right now. And I got the feels when I watched that trailer, when Link's, you know, soaring through the air, free falling through the air, going around on these floating islands. The game just looks insanely good, interesting, beautiful. It looks absolutely nothing like I thought it would be. Now, truthfully, I didn't know what to expect with this game, because all we really got in that first trailer was dark vibes, and something's going on, something's wrong, somebody's corpse is about to wake up, and I guess it's Ganondorf, but I don't remember everything happening in that original trailer. But I will say that it was just dark vibes abound in that original trailer. So we knew that we were going to get a different take, a different look at Breath of the Wild, probably something really dark. My vision of the game from that trailer alone was that we're going to see the Dark World version of this Hyrule. We're going to see, you know, kind of like in Link to the Past, when the world turns into the Dark World, and it's like a bizarro version of your world. It's kind of the spooky version. It kind of looks like, you know, if Hyrule were decorated for Halloween or something, I don't know. So that's kind of what I expected. I kind of expected, you know, I honestly was expecting to be a little bit disappointed once we actually saw gameplay, because I think that I was thinking that the game was going to be a lot less ambitious than this clearly is. I was thinking that we would maybe see a more linear story. Parts of Hyrule would be sectioned off into kind of a Dark World type of situation. But that's not what we got at all. This game looks hugely complicated and disturbing, honestly, because first of all, Link's arm, as you may have seen, is absolutely screwed. And I'm going to try to get a little screenshot here, or I'm going to try to pause here when this shows up. But this arm has like stuff growing on like his shoulder. There's like weird mechanical parts that are kind of eating into his flesh, and his arm is clearly this kind of like robot arm, Terminator arm kind of thing, which we'll see here in just a second again, I guess. But I'm blown away by the way this game looks, and I think that Link, we saw him getting infected. His arm was getting infected right there. We don't know if the game comes off or it like morphs into some sort of robotic tech thing. I don't know. But here's the interesting thing one of the most interesting things about this trailer for me is that Link, you can't see his face. The only time you see his face in this trailer is the very beginning when he's getting his arm like infected. And then the rest of the trailer, we don't know what his face looks like. What's going on with his face? Why are they hiding it? I don't know. I think that we're going to see a different kind of Link in this game. I think that this Link is going to be a disturbed Link that is potentially infected with some of the kind of dark tech from Ganon or somebody, or some sort of evil is infected Link, and we're going to see him struggle with that throughout the game. And maybe Link even goes rogue, or I mean, it's that vision, or it's that moment in the trailer here that we just saw where Link is like standing over he becomes a water droplet or whatever and drops upward and then goes through the floating island to the top. That was just about the coolest thing I've ever seen. But anyway, and then you hear that weird robot music, like the and Link is like looking over everything. I don't know. To me, it gives me the vibes that Link is disturbed in this game, and we're going to have to deal with that in the game. And maybe that's the real darkness of this game, is that you have a very disturbed and potentially a hero infected with evil or something. I don't know. I could be way overblowing that. It could just be this is a normal Link. He just happens to have a weird robot arm. I don't know. We're going to have to see. But yeah, okay. I'm going to try to pause here. Pause. So yeah, go a little closer. Okay. So yeah, there's a lot going on with that arm. You see that like kind of infection coming into his shoulder, and he's got like little metal parts or some kind of infectious evil going into... Link's messed up, man. That's why they're not showing his face. That's my feeling. I don't know, though. I don't know for sure. But also kind of props to Link for rocking the kind of almost like an Ultimate Warrior mullet type of situation, which is really interesting. So anyway, that's Breath of the Wild, sequel of the Wild, whatever you want to call it. I'm hyped. I can't believe how good this game looks. And the Switch never ceases to impress me. Maybe this is footage from like a Switch Pro or something. I don't really know. But anyway, let's move on. We're going to move into Metroid Dread now. Now, for me, there's a little bit of a trend happening with this Nintendo Direct. And as much as I loved it, I think it may be the best Direct I've ever seen. But the announcements that we got, I thought that the art style, the visual styles of some of these games that I absolutely love, like Metroid, WarioWare, Advance Wars, like these are games that I really like. But Metroid, this 2D Metroid game, it looks a little pedestrian. Like the art style, the overall like just presentation of the game, it just looks it looks a little bit sub what I would expect from Nintendo. And I watched the trailer several times, and then I watched the treehouse footage of the actual gameplay. And when I saw the gameplay, I started to feel pretty relieved, because, this is really one of those games I don't think that translates too well in trailer form. Some games do, some games don't. I think this is a game that does not translate well in trailer form, because for a few reasons. One, Samus is very small. Her character on the screen is very small, and that makes everything feel a little bit miniaturized, and you just can't see as much detail as you could on maybe one of the handheld games, or like Samus Returns for the 3DS. The sprite was a lot larger in that game, and that kind of just made for a better showcase visually, because it just allowed you to see more details around you, more details on each enemy, because you just have a closer viewing angle, I guess, or a closer view of everything. But I felt really relieved when I actually watched the treehouse footage, because it's actually a very good looking game, and I was kind of wrong with my first impression. So if you feel the same way that I did when you first watched this, if you were like, I feel like a 2D Metroid game could look a lot cooler than this, to be honest. Like, this just kind of looks a little bit boring, a little bit flaccid. The color palette's not very interesting. So I don't know. But again, I felt very reassured after I watched the actual gameplay, because I think that really once you get into the atmosphere of the game, when you actually see the game right in front of you, when you start to notice all of those little details, when you hear the atmospheric music, when you get immersed in the game, I think it will be a very pleasing, very good looking game. So I will say that for me, I would rather have like a very kind of exploratory, kind of cosmic Metroid type of game rather than a horror game. But I'll take the horror game. I'll take whatever I can get. The first 2D Metroid game in 19 years, although that's a little bit complicated because we had Samus Returns and that was 3D, but it was kind of a remake, kind of not. So this is the first fully new game, Metroid 2D game, in 19 years. So props to Nintendo for, keeping this alive. Now here's what worries me is if people think this looks boring in the trailer, they're just not going to buy it, and then Metroid's just going to become a low priority for Nintendo. So I would have, I'm sure this game looks good when you're actually playing it. I just wish it were a little more trailer ready. I wish it was just had a little bit more pizzazz to really hook people in and get them to play it, because if this game sells well, then it would be, I want Metroid to arrive. I want Metroid to be a huge focus for Nintendo. So hopefully this game sells well. I think really the hope for this game is that it gets really good reviews. If it gets really good reviews, if this is like a 10 out of 10 game, then obviously people are going to buy it. But if it's like a 7 out of 10 game, it might be worth playing, but I don't think anybody's going to play it, so unfortunately. So anyway, let's move on to WarioWare. Now this was my kind of big, kind of low-key surprise on this event, because WarioWare is low-key one of my favorite Nintendo franchises, and I feel like it's highly underrated, not talked about enough, and definitely just doesn't have enough representation on kind of the more recent consoles. We did get WarioWare Gold on the 3DS a few years ago, and it was great because it was a compilation of just about every WarioWare game out there, and it gave you in a really nice package, really nice presentation, and it worked perfectly on the dual screen touchscreen format. And now we've got this game. We finally got WarioWare on the Switch, and I'm thrilled. But kind of like Metroid, I feel like visually this game doesn't seem to do what the other WarioWare games did back in the day. Those games were just absurdly quirky. Like this looks quirky, but not nearly as quirky as the actual the foundation of the series. Like the first couple of entries in the series looked like just Japanese sarcasm overload or something. I don't know how to describe it, but this looks almost like little simple cell phone games or something. I don't know. It's kind of like flashy animation, and I had hoped for a better visual style, a better visual presentation. Now, of course, some of these little mini games that we're watching look more interesting than others. Some of them seem to have better, quirkier art styles than others. But I would just say I would have liked to see it go way more in the zany, crazy direction. But I still pre-ordered it. Do I think it's going to be worth $50? I don't know what Nintendo's thinking pricing a game like this at $50. I mean, I'll pay it because I'm obsessed with WarioWare, but I don't know if other people are going to necessarily be down to pay $50 for this. Only other thing I will say is, I'm thrilled to have a WarioWare game on Switch. Don't get me wrong, but I will give one more little criticism, and that is I don't really like the way that each and every minigame is set up so that your character, Wario or whoever, is actually doing the minigame. Like, I would much rather have the old school format where there's not like a player character, a sprite on the screen doing all of the work, because I think that's quite limiting. I would rather see it. I would rather just see a good, really fun, old school WarioWare game. If it ain't broke, don't fix it. WarioWare was never broke, so I don't know. It seems like this is something Nintendo does. They're like, hey, remember this cool old game you've been wanting to see a new version of? Cool, well, we're going to give you a really different, weird version and kind of mess up the flow and everything of the game and kind of mess up the what made the game cool initially. We're going to take that away. We're going to do something just slightly different that you don't really like as much. Isn't that, am I wrong? I feel like Nintendo does that a lot. That's definitely the vibes I get here. But again, I digress. I am very excited to have WarioWare represented on the Switch. Please buy it so they keep this series alive is my feeling. Anyway, next up we have the Zelda Game & Watch. And I pre-ordered 2 because I want one to play with and mess around with, and I want one to put on my shelf and just keep it sealed in the box. And that's kind of how I'm feeling about this thing. I want to just That's what I did with the Mario one, and now with the Zelda one, I'm going to do that as well. I hope that we get maybe a Metroid as well, because Metroid 35 is this year. I don't know if they're going to do something with Metroid, but I would love that. I don't know how many of these they're going to do. You know, it really makes you wonder, like, how many might we see? If we saw a Donkey Kong with like Donkey Kong 1994 on the Game Boy, had its own little representation, that would be amazing. I would love that. But this comes with 3 games, unlike essentially 1.5 games is what the Mario one came with, whereas this is like 3 fully unique games. So I appreciate that. I don't know how much Zelda I'm actually going to play on these things, because they're collector's items. They're not really for like actually sitting down and putting like tens of hours into Zelda games. So that's probably not what I'm going to do, but I am definitely going to love having this thing, and I think it's so cool that they're doing these. Okay, up next we have Advance Wars 1 and 2 Remake. I was not expecting this, but another thing, again, the art style on this just seems to miss the mark, kind of like on WarioWare, and not so much Metroid, because as I explained, I think Metroid actually looks really good upon my own second opinion. But Advance Wars 1 and 2, not sure what's going on with this art style. I mean, they could have kept it kind of pixel graphics-ish, but they didn't, so that's a little weird. I don't know. I like this game from back in the day. I think it's really cool that they're keeping these old franchises alive. I like the moves that Nintendo's making some of the time with preservation efforts. For the most part, they're really bad at it, but when they do something good, you got to give them props, and this is definitely something good. Just not sure what's going on with the art style. But if you played the original games, I mean, so the actual cartoons I think look good. Like, that looks good, but then the actual like little almost cell phone game looking presentation with the characters and everything, not really feeling it. But I still pre-ordered it, so and it's $60 for this, which is pretty interesting. So Nintendo's definitely very bold with their pricing, and I guess it's all my fault, because I'm the one pre-ordering these games. So that's Advance Wars. Again, cool preservation efforts from Nintendo. We want a lot more of it, though, Nintendo. We want to play old games and not just remakes. Okay, so next up, this was unveiled at the Ubisoft, I don't know how to pronounce it, but the Ubisoft E3 event days ago, and this is Mario and Rabbids, and what is it called? Sparks of Hope. And it looks good. I played the original Mario and Rabbids game. I am not terribly into turn-based strategy games, which is a little ironic, because I was just talking about how I like Advance Wars, but it's not my favorite genre. I decided to try this one out just because it looks very charming and it's Mario and everything, and I knew it would be good quality. It was a very, very good, very approachable turn-based strategy game, but it also had, a bit of heft to it, a bit of challenge on the normal mode that I played. And I died on a few of the bosses, had to change up my strategy, eventually got through the whole game. I did not play really any of the DLC, and I didn't really play a lot of the like extra stuff. So I just wanted to get through the core game. I didn't really care about any going deeper with it. So with this game, I don't know if I'm going to play it or not. I'll probably wait until later when this one goes on sale, because the current Mario and Rabbids game does go on sale quite a lot. In fact, I think it's like $5 right now or something crazy. So I'm just gonna wait on this one. I think it'll be fun to play someday, but I'm just not in a huge rush to play a turn-based strategy game. Next up, we have Mario Party Superstars, and this is like a compilation of Mario mini games, 100 mini games from across the series. Now, didn't they kind of already do this on the 3DS a few years ago? I guess this is just another compilation of mini games, but it's on the Switch. Looks really good. I'm definitely digging the way it looks. And I mean, I guess it's just going to be a regular Mario Party game. Like, you can just play a Mario on a board, because we're seeing boards and stuff here. So this is going to be cool. This is going to be like an old school Mario Party game. So if you don't like the new Mario Party game, maybe you'll like this one. So I've never really been into Mario Party, and I've never really had like friends that were really into Mario Party. I remember playing it a few times, but not really one of my like nostalgia trip games. So I'll probably skip this unless I, maybe meet, or I realize some of my friends want to play it or something, then I might pick it up. But not super interested in that one. Just not my cup of tea. So next up, I wanted to talk about another game that was announced not at the Nintendo E3 specifically, but at the, what do you call it? I can't remember the name of the company. What's the name of the company? Why can't I remember the name of... Hang on. What the hell's wrong with this video? Come on. This is fighting with me. Okay, well, it looks like we're not watching the Demon Throttle trailer, but this is a game that's coming exclusively to cartridge, so you cannot buy this game. They're announcing that this game will never be available digitally. I totally don't believe that. I think we'll see it someday, even if it's just like a ROM leak or something like that, or the devs eventually just kind of leak the game and let you play it. Maybe something like that'll happen. I don't know. But I'm probably going to skip this because I don't really want to play like an old school shooter game that badly. So I'll pass on this, but I thought it was worth a mention because really cool, kind of weird that they're doing a cartridge only thing. Definitely a bold move. I think it's a little bit compelling, but I thought it was worth a little shout out right here. So next up, we have Sable. Now we're leaving Planet Nintendo right now. This is the one non-Nintendo related thing I wanted to talk about from that I thought was a really big deal from this E3. This is Sable. It was unveiled at Summer Games Fest, which, by the way, what is Summer Games Fest? Like, why does that exist? What is the... Is it like a magazine? I don't understand what it is. I don't understand why it's significant, or why that one guy that hosts the Game Awards is sticking his face in there. I don't know. I don't know what it is, but I will say that this game was unveiled, I think 3 years ago at E3, at the PC Gaming Awards, the PC Gaming Show, which is where I first saw this. I think it maybe was also unveiled at the Xbox E3 presentation. But this game, was unveiled like 3 years ago, and I mean, look at it. It looks absolutely gorgeous. The developers have talked about how they've been inspired, I think, by Mobius, the French comic artist from like the 1970s, I believe. So this is a very, very interesting, amazing, just to die for art style. When I saw this trailer back in 2018, I thought that it was like probably the coolest, like at least the coolest indie game art style I think I had ever seen, just like fully realized in front of my face. And so now the game is finally coming out in September. It's coming to Xbox and PC, and it's going to be available on Game Pass, which is awesome. And the demo is available now as of yesterday. Yesterday I played through the whole demo. Took me about an hour to work through. And speaking of Breath of the Wild, or sequel of the Wild, this game is very much like Breath of the Wild. There is no combat, however, but it is a game where you basically explore the world around you. You are Sable. You are this character who is a young woman who is on a quest of discovery, self-discovery, of a rite of passage kind of tale, where she goes on her ritualistic gliding, is what it's called, where someone goes out and travels the world and finds out who they really are. And so that's what she is doing on her sweet little hover bike situation that she's got there. And the demo is very fun because the game is so beautiful to look at. The dialogue is also very compelling. The dialogue actually lets you read Sable's inner thoughts rather than just her dialogue with the player, and I really appreciate that. Kind of adds an extra like narrative quality to the game. The gameplay is not going to blow anybody's socks off because it's basically just traversing this world, solving a few puzzles here and there, usually very simple kind of environmental puzzles. Like I had to knock these fruits off of a tree so that a beetle would run up to the fruit and eat it, and then I could catch the beetle for some girl in the village. So fetch quests, lots of fetch quests. So the gameplay is so far in the trailer, in the demo is quite simple, but just admire the beauty, admire the experience. Sometimes I really don't like games like this. Like I can remember playing Journey and what's the other one, Flower, and some games like that were just really basic adventure kind of games that were more of a visual showcase, which is kind of what this is. But this is just, I just love the visuals too much, and the game plays really well. It's just such a kind of a beautiful like expression here. Soundtracked by Japanese Breakfast. I don't know how many tracks are going to be on this soundtrack. I don't know how many Japanese Breakfast tracks we're going to get, but pretty interesting that she offered the tunes here. And they're both of the songs that have been unveiled are both very good. One was 3 years ago, and one was today. So I assume those songs have been recorded for a while. But in any case, I guess that's about all I have to say. Sable, highly recommended that you go get the demo on Xbox or Steam. Check it out. And I'd love to know how you feel about it, because again, it's not going to be for everybody because it is quite simple, but also I seriously doubt that many people can really hate on the visual presentation of this game, the way it comes together. So guys, that's it for this one. Thanks for checking me out. This is a one taker. It's probably sloppy. I'm not doing another one because I don't have time. I shouldn't even be recording this, but thanks for checking me out. Like, subscribe, blah, 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 and I'll see you next time.